smettila lì. Hi, I am Lorenzo Faletra, also called Palinuro, and I'm here to because this is the first live show of Parrot Security. 8 years ago, an operating system was created called Parrot Security, and it is an operating system aimed at cybersecurity operations. It is a GNU Linux distribution that contains all the tools to allow cybersecurity professionals or students either to work on a cybersecurity field or to learn how such a world works. It is a very interesting operating system because it is not only a cybersecurity operating system, it is also for developers, and it also blinks an eye to all those people who care about privacy. In fact, privacy is one of the primary features we want to stress the importance of while developing the system, because a very private and secure system is also a system that you can use on the field when you do cybersecurity operations, because you are exposed to a huge amount of private content, very sensitive content. But why we are here? We are here because this is the first time we publicly announce through a live stream one of our major releases. In fact, few days ago, Parrot 4.11 was released, and today we are going to talk about the project and this version in particular and the future of the project that we are working on. First of all, this is how Parrot Security looks. This is what you know about Parrot Security. It is the classical look and feel of the system. This is what you are used to, what you expect from the system when you use it. And one of the things we try to do while doing new releases is to make the system feel familiar. So we don't tend to change a lot how it looks. We try to make it better under the hood, like improving the tools and other similar things. Let's start analyzing what's new in the system. First of all, there are some important updates under the hood that you might not have noticed by just downloading and using the system. That is the new Linux kernel 5.10 that includes a lot of new hardware support, and it fixes also many security bugs. We are also working to implement the new Linux 5.11 so that new hardware will be compatible, especially new processors that will come in the next months. Also, we have removed many tools and also packages that are no longer supported. Many penetration testing tools were abandoned by the original developers and were no longer maintained, and now they don't even work anymore. So we decided to remove them completely from the system, and we are working to integrate new tools to compensate the holes left by such tools that were removed. For instance, Python 2, one of the most used programming languages out there for years, is now deprecated. Python 3 is the latest version, and many security tools were based on Python 2. So we decided to follow what the upstream developers did and remove Python 2 completely, because it was removed from Debian, it was removed from any other operating system out there. So there is no way to have a secure, a safe, and updated distribution of Python 2. So we decided to remove it and remove all the tools. And we are working to implement something new. There are also services that used to be disabled by default in the system, but tended to re-enable themselves automatically during updates. Now we have stronger systemd policies to keep them dormant. In fact, one of the beautiful things about operating systems like Parrot Security is that all the network services are disabled by default. When you think about an operating system that contains a huge amount of tools, one of the things you expect is to have a huge waste of resources. You expect like the RAM to skyrocket because you have the web server, the databases popping up at boot. But this is not what happens because we tend to disable them by default. And if you compare the resource usage between the home edition, the version of Parrot without the cybersecurity tool, and the security edition, the one containing all the goodness of the project, you see that the usage is completely the same. So we have improved the way we keep everything dormant until the user actually needs such services to pop up. We have also improved some alternate editions, say the new XFCE image developed by our friend DM Knight from Vietnam, and also the KDE image, KDE Plasma image, now has a nicer look and feel and a more consistent user experience while you use it, because now the look is more similar to the one of the other versions. There are some very interesting updates for penetration testers. We have updated Metasploit framework. BetterCap now was updated to the last 2 releases that were released recently. We have finally fixed and patched PomPelm and other tools that are no longer working on upstream Debian releases. So we have patched them in order to work properly. Also, Routersploit, XSpy, Fish and Zish now have a dedicated profile. So many tools under the hood are now updated and reviewed so that we can ensure the level of quality that we want to provide to our users. There are also many nice updates for developers, because as a privacy caring distribution that blinks the eye to the developers also, we ship VS Codium instead of VS Code. VS Code is the open source code. It is like the source code base for Visual Studio Code, but it contains many telemetry scripts and features that users might find invasive, can I say? And we wanted to give our contribution to the VS Codium project, which is a binary release of Visual Studio Code that removes all the telemetry and endpoints connected to Microsoft services. So now it is a privacy respectful tool that you can use to develop your software. Also, we have new versions of Golang, Python, GCC, whatever you use to work on your code now is updated to the latest version available, and you can write your code using the latest technology like people expect from a rolling release distribution. Of course, we are not a core distribution. We are not like Debian. We are a derivative project, meaning that we build our services on top of someone else's work. In fact, we have imported all the updates from our upstream sources. It is not everything developed by us, but we have to give most of the credits to Debian and other projects we contribute to, we import things to, and we tend to cooperate when we can to make the system the way it is. Okay, let's see what is inside Parrot Security, because as you have seen from the top of our official release notes, there is a very important news. Debian, the system we are based upon, is in feature freezing stage, meaning that they are preparing for their major release. Debian 11 is near the corner. They are going to release it, I hope, within this summer. And what this means is that it is the perfect chance for us to release an LTS branch of the distribution. Let's try to keep it easy. We are a rolling release distribution, meaning it means that every time there is an update to a tool, to a package, to a software you use, we tend to deliver it as fast as possible. We try to test whether there are bugs or not, especially dependency issues, package conflicts, stuff like that, and then we release it as it is without providing that huge amount of testing that an LTS branch can offer. What is an LTS branch? It is a long-term support branch. It means that a new release is released and nothing changes inside that release until a new release comes up. So it is what Debian does. They have one release and it stays like the same for 2 years. And only after 2 years a new release is then released. Sorry for for the joke, but what they do is try to keep the system as stable as possible and ensure to their users that nothing will break for at least 2 years. Then a new release will be out with other 2 years of freezing of all the packages, where only security and stability updates are provided, and minor improvements to the code, but nothing really important. If something works, it will continue to work. In a rolling release distribution like we are right now, like Arch Linux, for instance, is, updates come and go at speed of light, and it is very hard to keep consistency. If you download an ISO file and it works, it is not granted that it will continue to work in the future. Maybe because of a bug in an NVIDIA driver, maybe because a bug in a kernel, some hardware support dropped, Python 2 disappearing from this distribution. This is what happens on rolling release distributions, and in the future we want to release an LTS, a very stable release as well, by maintaining the rolling release branch and providing the LTS branch as well as an alternative. It opens the gates to many important news. But first of all, if you check the comments, the description section of this very video, there is a link where you can write your own questions so that I can answer you later in the end of the call. So please go to, check the link and just write down your questions. The best of them will be answered right in this live. Back to the plan. What does offering an LTS branch means for us? It means that we can offer better support for servers. We can release a server edition of Parrot that you can use on servers like cloud infrastructures. Maybe you are on AWS or Keynote or other cloud providers, and it will be easier for us to keep them updated and keep them stable as possible. We already support Docker, so if you have a server, if you have a big server infrastructure and you want to run Parrot there, or even if you have your laptop, your working computer, where you have another distribution, even Windows, if you want, you can bootstrap your very own customizable Parrot framework with all the tools we provide on top of that system by using Docker and container technologies. We want to improve that. We want to provide native cloud support, native server support, and enable both us or other third-party providers to provide services built on top of Parrot, like if it was an actual framework for penetration testing operations. And of course, we are going to reintroduce ARM support. ARM architecture will be back in Parrot. It was very hard to keep it updated in the future, because when you release like 1 to up to 4 gigabytes of updates every month, it is very hard to keep everything working on a Raspberry Pi. So we stopped releasing an ARM version of Parrot, and it is the perfect time to bring it back. So expect ARM support to come back in the project, and support for several ARM boards as well. We don't want to support only Raspberry Pis, but also other major boards, especially ARM64 ones. I have no plans for the new M1 processor of Apple, but I expect it to be supported as well as soon as Linux and Debian integrate the proper support for it. So in the future, I hope, it is not a promise, it is my personal hope, to be able to provide a native version of Parrot for AIM-1 CPUs. What else on the list? Oh, of course, init freedom. One of the things I love about Linux is its resiliency. The fact that there are several alternatives to what you can use to make the system work. You can choose between several browsers. You can choose different desktop environments, and even in one single desktop environment, you can make it look in different ways. Under the hood, you can choose different technologies, different web servers, different Windows servers, whatever you want, you can do there. There are alternatives, experimenting different ways, different approaches to doing something, and you can choose the one that fits your needs. With the inclusion of systemd in Debian and other major distributions, it's not a rant. I want just to introduce you what you're going to do. It was very, very hard to find an alternative to systemd. So init freedom disappeared, and people were no longer able to choose the init system of their operating system. We are trying to develop a partnership with Devon, the Debian fork that doesn't use systemd, that is systemd free and allows you to choose other init systems, even newly developed ones that are out there. And we are trying together to develop a version of Parrot that works on top of Devon. In fact, my plan is to release a Debian release, both LTS and STS rolling release, and another LTS version dedicated to Devon, integrated systems, and init freedom, so that it works even on very, very low-end hardware, without requiring, or strange environments like containers that don't rely on a proper init system. So it is something we want to experiment with, because we have been working on it for years, and now I think we are ready to make the next step. I think it is the right time to show you the new system and start to collect and answer your questions. So this is how Parrot Security looks. It is the Mate edition. There is also the KD edition and the XFCE edition that looks, that of course, look differently. And this is basically where everything starts. You have your menu. As you can see, there are many tools, even those tools that you expect for daily usage. You can use it even for daily operations. Like you have the browser, you have LibreOffice, you can install whatever you want. If you are a developer, you have VS Codium and other technologies. So it is like Debian customized to look nicer, to have good defaults out of the box, and have also some integrated GUIs for penetration testers. There is a quick menu for the most used tools, and then all the tools are divided into categories. Those categories tend to follow the standard of penetration testing operations, because when you do a penetration test, it's like organizing a heist against a bank or something like that. You have to study your target and only then try to attack it, and only if you found a vulnerable link in the chain. So there are many information gathering tools and vulnerability assessment, analysis and assessment tools, so that you can know how the company is organized, what is the attack surface that is exposed to you, and so that you can make actually a map of what you are going to attack. Then there are the exploitation tools, those tools that help the penetration tester to make the job, to break into the system. Such tools facilitate the job of the penetration tester in very amazing ways. It is nothing invented here. There are like the industry standard tools that we wanted to integrate in the system. And one of the things I like about Parrot is its default configurations. using Parrot is nothing like using like an Ubuntu distro with just the tools manually installed. If you launch a Metasploit or Armitage, it will automatically start the database server. It will configure the database for you. It will start all the systems for you, and Metasploit will just work without other customizations and configurations. If you try to install, for instance, Metasploit on Ubuntu or other systems, one of the things you end up with is a system that takes hours to load, because every single database or software you have installed needs to be started at boot. On Parrot, everything is dormant until you actually need it. There is also a very nice focus on edge cases of security, like wireless testing, especially software-defined radio, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. So everything with what is radio with the proper hardware can be exploited through Parrot, and you can take advantage of the Parrot system to exploit wireless networks and do amazing things. And Parrot is also amazing for automotive exploitation and automotive security. And reverse engineering. We have recently replaced Radar 2 framework, one of the major reverse engineering frameworks out there, with Ryzen, which is its successor, and also Cutter, the new Cutter version, the latest one based on Ryzen. So now, instead of Radar 2, which had some issues in its development. I don't know the full story, but if you want, we can talk together later in our community groups about that, because we have some developers who have experienced what happened and have helped us integrating Ryzen. And we also have some digital forensics tools. So Parrot Security is also used by digital forensics experts to extract data from machines. It is used by policemen and consultants of this world. So it is not only used for security, it is also used to analyze the system and do a post-mortem analysis of an attack or other things that are related to this digital forensics world. There is the System Services menu, which is now detached from the pentesting menu. From here, you can easily start and stop all the services that we ship with the system. And it is also one of our attempts to make the system easier to use. One of the most important things we want is the system to be easy, but not completely automatic. We don't want automatism to make the internals transparent. Let me explain. We don't want people to don't understand what is going on during an update, because we don't want such update to be hidden behind a progress bar. We want the users to actually see what is going on the system every time they use it. There is an indicator here on the top of the system where you can immediately monitor the CPU usage, the memory usage, and the network usage. If you upgrade the system, the bare APT output is shown to you. You don't have to know what is going on, but if you want, you can look into. So we want to keep it as an approach, because if you use Parrot, we expect you to be someone curious or experts about technology. So it is a chance either to know what is going on in the system, or to understand how it works under the hood. It is very, very important for us. Also, the browser ships with some default bookmarks. There is the start page, the community, the documentation, our Git server, and CryptPad. It is one of the servers we offer to services we offer to our users. It is a completely encrypted collaborative suite where you can use rich text, code, presentation. You can do Kanban, storage little files, and everything is encrypted. But it is not encrypted on our servers. It is encrypted in your browser, and you are the only one with access to the keys, the private keys to unlock whatever you write here. And if you share the link, other people can read and edit it, but since the key is part of the title, and since the key in the title is placed after this symbol, there is no way to retrieve the key from our log files on the servers, and there is no way to easily find it in the history of your browser. So it is very, very safe to use. Well, it is a browser application, so it is not as safe or as something offline, but it is the best you can have on a browser. And also, there are some resources that you can use here. There are some privacy resources that you can use to learn about privacy and personal security, OPSEC basically, operational security. There are some penetration testing resources from the Hack the Box penetration testing labs to keep you updated with, you can use it to challenge you, to know how good you are at doing things, and keep you aligned with the late exploit. They also have a very, very beautiful academy that they have just launched, and then there are other studying resources that are amazing. And in the Learn section, we have chosen some resources to learn programming. There is the Debian handbook, some open source books that we have collected, and then here you can learn how to develop in Bash, Python, Go, NIM, C, C++, Node.js, Java, PHP, and so forth. So by default, we want the system to provide everything needed to bootstrap your career in cybersecurity. If you are a veteran, you might not need everything in a system, and this is why we don't only provide the security edition, but also the home edition. Let's see what it means. In the home edition, there is no security tool pre-installed. It is just the bare Parrot system with its look and feel, its repositories, and its configurations, but without the penetration testing menu. There is only VS Codium here in the programming menu, and nothing really more. There is the privacy menu, but no pen testing menu. And you can use it to manually install only the tools you need, and you can use it to assemble your very, very own customized penetration testing environment. And I really recommend it for you if you want to build your system instead of relying on something ready, because you learn a lot of things from building something your own. And of course, there are IoT and cloud images ready right now, even if we are not really exploited the potential of Parrot Security in a cloud. There are the OVA images for VirtualBox and VMware, and there are the Docker images. In Docker, as you can see, we offer several images ready to use. There is Parrot Core that includes only the bare core. You can use it to build your own environment. There is Parrot Security with all the tools inside, and then there are individual tool collections, like a container that only ships Nmap, another one that only ships Metasploit and all the tools needed by Metasploit in its dependencies. There is the social engineering toolkit, Beef, XSS, BetterCap, SQL Map, and other popular tools. Other tools will come in the future with dedicated containers, but as of today, you have a good way to bootstrap your cloud environment, penetration testing environment. Let's go to the questions. Sorry, I have to update the window. Okay, there are some new questions for me. So, the first question is, how does the Parrot team sees the future for Parrot Home? We believe in Parrot Home Edition because it doesn't contain the tools, so it is like the basement that people can use to provide their own customizations. They can use it as a basement to build their very, very own environment for penetration testing, and I really, really enjoy this idea. There are people who don't care about security and penetration testing. There are people who just like the way Parrot looks and feels, and Parrot Home is something for them. You can use it for daily use. It is not something developed to be run in a virtual machine and only there. It is something you can use at home for your kid's computer. For even my mother used Parrot for a little while, so it is a system that you can use for daily operations, even if you have nothing to do with security. So it will have a future. We will improve it, and also its user experience. We don't want to become the new Ubuntu. It is not what we want from the project, but we want to be very, very easy to use, very appealing to the newcomers who like this approach to Linux and using the system. So it's default. What is the difference between Parrot 4.11 and Parrot 4.11.1? Okay, we decided to keep the system updated by releasing minor updates. When we release a new version, all we do is freeze our repository, refresh our ISO files, and assign a label to them. Nothing more. It is just a label, a version number that we apply to a moment in the history of the project where we pause us a little bit, we make sure everything works, and we append that label, that number, when we refresh the ISO files. So between these two versions, all that changes was some bugs in 4.11 that were fixed and needed a fresh rebuild of the ISO file so that people will be able to use the fixed version without updating the system, because many users use Parrot in live mode, meaning that they don't install the system, they use it straight from the ISO file, and providing a fresher ISO file is a very, very smart strategy for delivering security and stability updates. We have also integrated some new updates for the tools and to the installer as well. Yes, the installer was fixed. There is another improvement we did to the installer and to the boot screen of the ISO file. So in the next days we will release Parrot 4.11.2 and so expect a new version to come up, but it will only be a minor update, shipping what you can already get from the repository. If you have an older image, you can keep it updated through APT, through system updates. Why is the Parrot team so sexy? Well, I don't know. Maybe because you are amazing guys. I was a one-man band guy for a long while. I have developed the Parrot system completely alone for ages, like years, more than 6 years, I believe. And now, finally, the team is joining together to build the system together as if we were a real team. And it is amazing because the results we are getting are huge. And I think you, as Parrot users, have already noticed the difference in quality of what we are delivering. ServerCat asked, how do I manage my time? Because I am everywhere helping the users and calmly answering complaints, fixing issues on the fly. One time I've even fixed a bug in Parrot while I was doing a shower because I took my phone, connected to a server, and fixed an upstream bug on a package. I don't remember which one, but I did that by reading that message and delivering the update straight from me doing the shower. So yes, what I do is I try to not build a bubble around myself. Because when you are inside a bubble, when you don't see what is outside your nose, you end up with not understanding how the world is changing around you and how are using changing while using your product, or how you are changing without noticing. So your system, my system in this case, it's important to me to be focused on what other projects are doing, what people say about the project. And I don't want to continue developing the system based on previous opinions collected in previous releases while I was hearing the project. So if I stopped listening to people, I will probably close myself inside a bubble and not understanding any longer how the world is changing and how the system needs to adapt in order to be future proof. Because, to be honest, the time for penetration testing distributions have faded away. Now people need better tools, better frameworks, and better cloud environments, better technologies to do penetration testing. The penetration testing distribution intended as a Debian release with a bunch of tools thrown inside doesn't have a future, and we need such distributions to evolve in order to survive. And this is why I am everywhere. People talk about Parrot. I really want to join the community, be there, stop acting as a rock star, which is useless for the project, and leave the system with my users to understand how they feel about an update, what are their opinions, how the things are shifting away from my model, from my view, and try to adapt to that. This is why I am everywhere. Why will people pick Parrot instead of Kali? It's hard to say. I am not a Parrot against Kali user. I am the first one who suggests people to try both. Do you have Parrot? Do you like it? Go download Kali Linux and use it for a while. If you don't like it, force yourself to like it, understand why it is a good system. If it's not, contribute to it to make it better. The same thing can be applied to Parrot. If you are a Kali user, you can try Parrot and try to understand why it is different. Why we are trying to do the same thing but following a different path, a different vision. Because diversity is very, very important. And I have never perceived not only Kali but other penetration testing distributions as competitors. We are not competitors. We do not compete each other. We are people, lovely people, developing each one their projects, following their vision and contributing to the same field, to the same world, the cybersecurity industry. And they have tried many, many things in the past that were successful, and we loved to follow their path there. We have experimented some very, very nice things, like removing the root user, adopting a very lightweight desktop environment, and other little details like that proved to be worth of attention, and Kali then adopted the same approach by ditching GNOME 3 desktop and switching to XFCE, or stopping using the root user by default and switching to a more secure model with an authenticated user. So we copy and imitate each other when we can. We are a very, very small team. Consider that Kali Linux is a huge project with a huge company behind them, while we are a very tiny project trying to import as much as we can, try to automate as much as we can in order to keep the project up, and then try to spend our time not reinventing the wheel, but inventing something new, something that we believe should be in the system, in the industry. What we believe even other similar projects should copy from us if they believe it is worthy, or even clone, but in a different way. Why not? So we love being in the same field with Kali Linux. We don't feel them as competitors, and I have even joined the Debian PKG security team once, trying to contribute alongside Kali developers to maintaining penetration testing tools inside Debian. So both projects joining together with other developers, even from other projects or individually, to keep such security tools mainline in the Debian repository. Of course, I had no time for that. Unfortunately, my contribution was less than worthless, and now I'm here working just on Parrot, at least. It will probably change in the future, but at least I tried. Let's see another question. Okay, Sky is asking me how did the project started why we decided to make Parrot rolling release. What was the idea behind such choices, such system? Why Debian and not Arch Linux? Um, what are the Parrot specific modifications that we do on top of Debian, like security stuff like that? And of course, the ARM version question was already answered. So yes, we will reintroduce that. Okay, Parrot Security started as almost as a joke. It was a personal project, a play I did, like a game. Um, it was like more like a challenge, I believe, with some of my friends. And I did it. I created it. It was mostly for myself because try to understand me. When you are like the average distro hopper, you change distribution very often, or you format your computer very often. So you tend to spend a huge amount of time customizing it. And at some point, I reached the point where I was spending more time customizing my system than actually using it or learning something useful. So I decided to pack all my configs, make them standard, and ship them on top of first Ubuntu and then Debian. So the distribution was created to provide a Debian core with all my customizations by default on top of them, so that I could just plug the USB drive on any computer and have my very own environment with my customizations, with my configurations with me. This was the idea. Then I started making it a penetration testing distribution. Of course, it was very, very basic, badly developed, nothing professional. But because of the nice look and feel, the desktop wallpapers that looked amazing, at least for some crazy people out there like me, people believed it was a legit project and started to use it even in professional environments, believing it was legit. So I decided, when I saw such growth in usage, to start working on it seriously. And then I stopped being a kid and started to be an actual open source developer, developing a distribution for penetration testing in a professional way. And I have learned how to do that while doing that. So it was also my playground where I learned what I am today. So all my knowledge comes from that age. Of course, we make some modifications on top of Debian which are not strictly related to the user graphics and the user experience of the system. It is not Debian with a changed wallpaper. We change a huge amount of packages. We try to customize them to behave in completely different ways. The most popular one, the most evident one, is the behavior, sorry, English keyboard, okay, the behavior of the network daemons. If you are on Debian and you install MySQL, the MySQL database, or you install Apache Web Server or Nginx Web Server, when you reboot the system, they are up and running by default. When you do it on Parrot, they are not. They are shut down. They do not waste your RAM or your CPU. They are dormant. They only occupy storage in your hard drive, but nothing more. It is not something invented by us. Kali did the same, and I think other penetration distributions do exactly the same. So we decided to import the same patch. We customized it. We added new tools and new daemons to that blacklist so that we maintain our own services blacklist right now. And this is one of the major changes we do on top of Debian. We also change APT. It is a little change that enables HTTPS redirectors to redirect to HTTP mirrors. It is safe because everything is GPG verified, and mirrors cannot be altered without APT noticing it and preventing the user from installing a compromised update. And the key is not applied by the server, which might be compromised, but it is applied directly by developers. And in the case of Parrot, it is not something many developers do, but it is something that only I can do through my keys. So the only way for an update to be considered valid by a Parrot system is by having my very own GPG signature on top of it. So there is no way for a mirror to hijack traffic and do nasty things with that. It is something that happens in other distributions as well. Nothing invented here. Alert is still blinking, but it is something that we keep in consideration and we try to do in the best way. Also, the selection of mirrors that we have is very, very fine-tuned. We only use specific providers. We only accept those mirrors that we consider trustworthy. When you download an ISO file, you download it from a restricted list of servers. So I will talk about infrastructure later if someone asks. Other changes were tools, of course. Some of them are imported from Kali. So every tool available in Kali is also available in Parrot. Some of them are imported from Kali. Some of them are maintained by us. Some of them are only available in our system because we decided that we wanted them aboard because they were new and we believed in such projects. And of course there are other changes that might be important, like group, the bootloader, shows a special label, an additional label that enables you to boot the system in fail-safe mode if you have experiencing issues with NVIDIA or AMD graphic cards and you want to fall back on an integrated card in your GPU, or if you have compatibility issues with ACPI, you can turn ACPI support off and at least be able to boot the system. Okay, there are other packages that we change. If you type this command here, apt list -- installed pipeline, and you grep Parrot, you will easily get every single package that was modified by us and is not upstream. It is not vanilla. So if there is something we changed, you can easily get it from this list and contact us to have further information about it. We are free to discuss about what we change and even improve it. As you can see, init system helpers, the magic trick for systemd. The Linux kernel is customized to have some minor patches to have a nicer behavior with some wireless chipsets in interception and packet injection modes. Nothing really changed other than that, so it is still secure. The keyring, the core, and other behaviors of the system. But as I said, if you take this list, you can have a quick look at what changed compared to what Debian has to offer. Other questions? Why doesn't Parrot have a graphical user interface package updater or important package update reminder? Well, we are working on that. We don't have enough developers to develop such tools aiming at improving the usability of the system, but now something is changing because we have two very important partnerships with Zorin OS and Kane Forensics, that are two popular distributions, both with Italian developers like me, and we have decided to help each other on making our systems better. I am offering the Parrot infrastructure to them so that they can take advantage of our download infrastructure for their downloads. Zorin OS is helping us with developing such little tools to improve the usability of the system. Kane helped us a lot with digital forensics tools and also with intelligence about how to properly develop Parrot Security for digital forensics. And we are also helping him back by helping him developing the distro. So it is a very, very three-party partnerships that we are making with them. And things will be better in the future, I promise. What are the plans for the installer? Okay, everyone have noticed that Parrot has a new installer available. It is a great news for us because it is one of our major steps to improve that usability I was talking about. Mostly, Parrot Security is considered to be the department of redundancy. We have a double menu, one on the top and another one on the bottom with a different structure and a search feature. We have many things that are redundant in the system. The new one is the installer, so we are experimenting both the installers, the Debian one and the new Calamares one, and to see how they behave. And in the future we will drop the support for the Debian installer and ship only and exclusively Calamares installer, at least for the major images. That will probably be different for the LTS version. We will probably provide a Debian installer version even for that, for those who really need to customize the installation, maybe on RAID setups and other complex and advanced stuff, so that they can do that. But for the desktop experience, Calamares is enough, and it offers a very, very unique user experience, and it also makes easier for us to offer support. We don't have to figure out whether a user installed Parrot through the Debian installer or Calamares in order to understand how the partition was made, how the bootloader was configured and installed. Such variables will disappear and make the system more consistent and make the solutions to common problems more consistent and easy to provide. How safe are our servers? Okay, our servers are pretty safe. We tend to rely on bare metal servers so that it is harder for third-party curious to take a look at them and know what is inside. So logs are secure. Logs are safe. We do not have telemetry. Our project cares about privacy. We do not perform telemetry on our users, neither while using the operating system nor while browsing the website. We have some numbers that we collect from log files that we keep for security. If we experience a data breach, we need to be able to debug it, to trace it, and to figure out what happened. But logs are kept on the server only for 24 hours, then they are downloaded and wiped from the servers. They are kept on a local infrastructure that we keep offline except for when downloading the logs, and then stored there in a full encrypted server that is shut down every time we don't need it. When we do log analysis, we tend to anonymize the IP addresses and other useful information. We generate on the flight a signature with the IP address and other information that is there, and then we only rely on such anonymized data, and we never ever do specific user tracing. We do not know what a single specific user did on our website, except in case of a cyber attack. And of course, nobody else can do it, either by forcing us to do it or silently by accessing our servers. And even if it happened, the attack surface, the damage surface, is pretty limited because our website is mostly static, spread on several servers. Come on, an entire data center was set on fire in Strasbourg, and no one even noticed that in Parrot because our infrastructure was redundant. Our infrastructure was able to handle such incident like an entire server exploding, and everything worked very, very flawlessly and amazing. So one of the things we focus most on while designing our infrastructure is to not rely on third-party solutions and to keep the privacy of our users as safe as possible, which implies adopting the highest security standards available. Bare metal when possible, full disk encryption even when not convenient at all, because you have to manually put the passwords. You can automate it, but we didn't want it to do that for security. And when there is time to harden the system, we spend a huge amount of time hardening it. I am the only one with access to servers, so even other people contributing to the Parrot infrastructure, they do not do that by accessing the servers. We have infrastructure as code definitions, and people contribute on GitHub, changing our configuration there, and then I can review it and deploy it on our servers. Nobody can actually access such servers without my personal intervention. I have to be the one to do that. Will Parrot improve the resource consumption? Linux is growing. Linux is going is evolving in a very amazing way, and because of that, we are not in power of making it more lightweight. We tend to make Parrot as lightweight as possible, but we cannot really do better than that at this point without impacting the functionality of the system or the hardware support or other things that in the end of the day will directly or indirectly influence the functionality. So it is not something that you have to ask to us. There is something that you have to ask to upstream developers. Maybe hardware manufacturers should be agree on a common standard instead of doing thousands of ACPI implementations, so that you can have only one very lightweight and optimized kernel driver. CPU manufacturers should do the same. Come on. A huge amount of Linux is only about hardware compatibility, in order to be able to be compatible with as much hardware as possible, to make people just boot the system without saying, hey, Linux doesn't work on this machine, this is shit, Linux should not be used by anyone, it's just something for hobbyists and nothing more. If we want Linux to reach mass adoption, hardware compatibility is key. And unfortunately, because of how the market is today, hardware compatibility means a huge amount of resources wasted because of that, both in storage and in memory usage. If you want to have faster resources, more advanced file systems, if you want your M2 and NVMe memory card to be able to run at highest speeds, you have to accept that resources will be used for that. And I do not like that, but it is a trend that does not depend on us. I think Parrot offers one of the most lightweight Debian experiences if we take in account the huge amount of things that it provides, and then how nice the look and feel is. So you cannot really go lower than this without making Parrot look like one of those operating systems configured by uber nerds of Linux that make those ugly things that are really not pleasant for someone with eyes like mine. Parrot on Raspberry Pi anytime soon. Yes, we are working on it. I cannot give you an ETA for that, so I cannot tell you how long it will take, but we are working back on that, and it is amazing for me. We are not developing other spatial tools for Parrot right now. We are focusing on making the user experience better. So in the future, you will see other tools developing by Parrot. Some of them will be security oriented, but nothing really great. And of course, other tools will come to improve usability. One thing that we would love to do is to make partnerships with tool developers, people who want to develop new tools, so that we can guide them to develop, we would like to provide the right intelligence to point them in the right direction. Look, the industry is moving in that direction. We believe this tool is missing from the industry. You should develop it. This is what we will dream to do with developers and community of developers. And eventually also contribute, I don't know, financially by offering support, hardware support, hosting, all the resources that we can provide, we will provide. Okay, Jack Bin is asking that sometimes the updates are not so stable. How can I switch to a stable channel? We don't have it right now. The LTS branch of Parrot that we will release in the future will do exactly that. That will be our stable channel, with the rolling release channel being the testing one, with the latest and greatest and buggiest, probably. Mr. P is asking how the future of Parrot will change in the future, whether we are going to be more daily basis operating system or something for developers. We would like to keep both of them, with the primary focus on cybersecurity and a secondary focus on developers and people who cares about privacy. But yes, we would like to be an alternative to penetration testing distributions and use our user base, our fame that we have accumulated during these years, and our experience in the field to develop the next generation of cybersecurity distributions, or at least contribute to shape something similar. How Parrot can improve the privacy of users by default? This is a very interesting question. By default, we try to make the system as hardened as possible, and we will make it even better. We have experimented with hardening technologies in the past up to reaching the level of inusability of the system, and I'm very sorry for that. But now we have fell back to another model with AppArmor. So we want to provide very strong AppArmor profiles, as we do right now, but we want to do even better, and make the system secure by default. Debian is doing an amazing job at hardening the system and providing good defaults. We want to do something more. For instance, by default, when you download a deb file from Firefox and you try to install it straight from the browser, it crashes because Firefox is not authorized to run itself as root, and even its sub-processes cannot have root privileges, so it fails. Other security measures like that are in place in the system, and we want to introduce even more. Then we provide a good set of pre-installed Firefox extensions like Privacy Badger, uBlock Origin, and HTTPS Everywhere. And of course, the browser, Firefox browser, which is known to be helping privacy on one hand and being aggressive on telemetry on the other end, was changed in Parrot. We provide configurations that disable experimental features of Firefox, disables all the telemetry endpoints in a hard way that doesn't enable Mozilla to re-enable them remotely. We disable experiments. We enable the integrated privacy protection tool by default, and it is also pretty aggressive, I believe. Not in this version that I am using here to show you, but by default it is either in custom or strict mode. Cookie policies are the strictest possible to not break websites. And other configurations disable prefetching of content and other technologies that were used in the past to exploit Firefox and other browsers and make security and make the browser less secure. So yes, even Firefox was made better. Unsurf works globally to switch the whole system through Tor, the Tor network, and dropping everything that cannot be routed through Tor or to a local network mask. So we want to keep privacy at a very high end. We are not an alternative to Tails or similar projects, and we do not want to be that. So please do not consider Parrot as an alternative to Tails. It is something that you can use on your computer for daily operations in a secure way with secure defaults. If you were an expert, how would you configure your system to be secure? This is what we want to provide to people without being too extremists in doing magic things like Cubes OS did. If you want Cubes and its security models, use cubes. Otherwise, we offer something more human. How can end users collaborate with Parrot OS project? It is not easy to accept new contributions, but we love when people have something to contribute with. One of the things, the easiest way to contribute to the project is to see something that doesn't work for you or that you know you can improve, and try to understand how to fix it on your own. If you can make Parrot better on your own, you can contact us and try to be guided with us to make your change upstream, to integrate your change, your improvement to our package, to make it integrated into the distribution so that we can ship it with the next updates. That will be easier for us, because there are many people that come at us saying, hey, I know Python, how can I help the project? And we have to say, we have to ask, do you know Debian packaging? We need a lot of Debian packagers for this project. The primary thing we need is people who know how to make Debian packages compliant to the strictest Debian standards, that are the strictest one in all the distribution out there. So if you want to contribute, you either learn how to maintain Debian packages, then you can be a casual contributor. Hey, I want to do something, please tell me what to do. Or you have to have something specific to do with us. Like, hey, this thing is broken. Here is how to fix. Please guide me to integrate the patch. I saw this icon, you should resize it to this. What is the proper repository to make the pull request? We can guide you to figure out where to make pull requests, but you have to be able to do your own work on a project. We don't have the enough human time to teach you how to do the job, even if we would love to do that. Why Parrot is called so that? Why the name Parrot OS? Well, as I said, it started as a game, and it represented like the parrot on the shoulder of a pirate in cartoons. So I wanted Parrot to be the companion of the cyber pirate, and hence the name. How can a non-tech and non-coder contribute to the Parrot project? Well, if you know something, maybe you are a graphic designer and you want to contribute to our designer team. Maybe you know about social media relationships and you might join us as a social media manager. Maybe you know very well your native language and you might join us as a translator or a content creator in your language. Or you can help the community in some ways by, I don't know, learning the basic stuff by listening to people and then helping newcomers, new entries to get the first step sorted out. There are many things you can do. Your contribution to the community primarily related to community activities of the project, not the project code itself. So there is room even for for non-coders, of course. Let's refresh the page and let's see what's new. Okay, no other important questions that need to be addressed in that call. So I think we can end the call here. And it was a pleasure to to announce such project to you. This video will be available later in our YouTube channel offline, maybe by cutting something in the middle and making it maybe shorter. It was the first public event we did with a project, similar project like that, and we would like to do other keynotes in the future. So please try the system, try the new version, join our community, even if you are not a coder, even if you are not a security professional. If you are just curious about the project, we can offer our help, our community, our expertise, our knowledge to answer your questions, to help you bootstrapping your career, or just helping you with basic help if you want to use Parrot as your daily driver, as an Ubuntu alternative or Debian alternative. So it was a pleasure, it was an honor to develop this distribution for you, and see you on the next one. Bye.